As we head into conference play, college football is really starting to pick up. Pretty much every team still has a clean slate, and for the most part, every Power 5 school has a winning record. That makes all of the games at this time of year look good, and to be honest, this might be one of the most loaded slates we have seen in years. Last year, Week 4, Week 6, and Week 14 were all insane, and I would put this upcoming weekend in that same tier. In today's video, we're going to do a Week 5 preview, go through the games, and I'm going to give my predictions and thoughts for the week. I also want you guys to give your predictions down below, and then in next week's preview, we will revisit how I did, and you guys can call me out. But before we get started, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, so quickly be sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and turn on notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's preview some football. So the first game I want to talk about is this upcoming Friday, and that is number 15 Washington at UCLA. Both of these teams are undefeated and are fighting for a spot at the top of the Pac-12. Washington has been playing really well, led by quarterback Michael Penix. Meanwhile, UCLA is led by fifth-year quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Washington's played two decent teams, while UCLA's played nobody. While UCLA is at home, I think Washington is going to win this one. Now, as we get to Saturday, the first game I want to talk about is number 4 Michigan at Iowa. So far, Michigan's biggest test is Maryland, and while I don't think the Terrapins are bad, Michigan also has not faced an elite defense yet. The Hawkeyes have that elite defense, but the question is, will they even be able to score? Iowa has been terrible on offense, and while I think this game could be close, I think Michigan is going to pull it out. We now head to our first ranked matchup, and that is in the SEC, in number 7 Kentucky at number 14 Ole Miss. This is the most hyped up Kentucky team in a long time, and they're playing an Ole Miss team who hasn't really proved anything yet. While the Rebels have talent and a 4-0 record, their schedule has not been that difficult to this point. I think this game is about as even as it gets, and even though Kentucky gets Chris Rodriguez back, I think Ole Miss is going to pull off our first upset of the weekend. Heading over to the Big 12, number 18 Oklahoma goes on the road to play TCU. The Horned Frogs are unbeaten, and Oklahoma has one loss after they fell at home to K-State last weekend. I think this game will be close for the first half, but if Coach Venables and Dylan Gabriel get going like I think they will, then I think Oklahoma will pull away from it in the fourth quarter and win by at least 2 scores. Heading back over to the Big 10, Purdue plays on the road against number 21 Minnesota. For some reason, Jeff Brom has not been able to beat the Golden Gophers, as they have lost to them for the last 4 years. Some people think it's a curse, while others just say Coach Fleck has his number. Right now, the Golden Gophers are fresh off a dominating victory over Michigan State and are currently ranked number 21 in the country. While I think Purdue has the better offense in this game, they have not been able to beat the Gophers in the past, so I don't think it'll happen again. Minnesota wins in a close one. After Kansas State beat Oklahoma last weekend, they jumped into the polls at number 25. In my opinion, they put the wrong Kansas team in the polls, but nevertheless, they play against Texas Tech at home. Kansas State definitely had a super emotional win last weekend, and to be honest, I think they're going to have a letdown, and Texas Tech pulls off our second upset of the weekend and beats K-State. Heading back over to the Big 10, Illinois plays Wisconsin. This will be Brett Bielema's return to Madison, and right now, both of these teams are desperately looking for a conference win. Illinois lost early to Indiana, and Wisconsin lost last weekend to Ohio State. Neither of these teams want to lose this game, and they both kind of have the same style. Chase Brown might be the most underrated running back in college football, and Wisconsin might have the most talented in Braylon Allen. If this game was neutral, I'd give Illinois a better chance, but because I don't think Wisconsin will drop 2 in a row, I think they're going to win this game in a close one. Oregon State has had a quick rise in the last year and a half under Jonathan Smith, whereas Utah has been solid for years under Kyle Whittingham. After Utah lost in Week 1 to Florida, they are now number 12, but still have a good record and a chance to win the Pac-12. Oregon State just lost a close one to USC, and I think this game is going to be a battle. Oregon State has the better offense, but Utah probably has the better defense. I think this one ultimately comes down to experience and the home field advantage, and Utah wins. Heading over to what some believe is the game of the week, number 2 Alabama travels on the road to number 20 Arkansas. So far, Bama's biggest test was on the road against Texas, whereas Arkansas has already played Texas A&M and Cincinnati. The Hogs have a great quarterback, a great coach, and a star running back in Rocket Sanders, and to be honest, I don't know what to expect from either team. Bama struggled against Texas, and Arkansas lost to A&M. I think this game is truly going to come down to the end, and just for the fun of it, let's go ahead and say Arkansas pulls off the upset of the weekend and beats Alabama in a close game. I know lots of people are going to scream down below, but I'm not an expert, and this video is just for fun. Let's say the Hogs win. After that, we have another matchup between two ranked teams in number 9 Oklahoma State at number 16 Baylor. After a season in which they came inches away from the college football playoff, Oklahoma State has reloaded in 2022, and they are looking to reclaim the Big 12. Baylor was the team that crushed their dreams last year, and they are also looking to win the Big 12. This game is going to be a great matchup. I think Oklahoma State's going to have their coming out party game and go on the road and beat Baylor. The Kansas hype is unbelievable at this point, as they are 4-0 with 3 wins over future Power 5 teams. They have a great new coach in Jalen Daniels as a star at quarterback, but they will play a well-coached Iowa State team at home. Hunter Dekkers is the Cyclones' newfound star at quarterback, and after losing to Baylor last week, Iowa State's going to be very hungry for this win. As much as I hate to say it, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Cyclones in this one, and this will be Kansas's first loss. Up next, we go back over to the Big Ten for an underrated matchup between Michigan State and Maryland. At the beginning of the year, many would have probably picked Michigan State to win easy, but after 2 bad performances in a row, Spartans' program is on the downhill, whereas Maryland might be on the up. They recently played Michigan really tough on the road, and I think they're going to continue that trend, and Maryland's going to win this game, and Michigan State will drop their 3rd in a row. Heading down a couple of states to North Carolina, the Tar Heels will take on Virginia Tech. North Carolina was previously undefeated with their newfound star quarterback Drake May, but this past weekend their defense got exposed as they could not stop Notre Dame and suffered their first loss of the season. Virginia Tech is in a tough spot this year. They're in year 1 under head coach Brent Pry, and after losing to both Old Dominion and West Virginia, they're scrambling. The only reason Virginia Tech may have any sort of chance in this game is because of how bad North Carolina's defense is, but I think the Tar Heels will put up enough points to win this game pretty comfortably. North Carolina wins. Heading back over to the SEC, number 17 Texas A&M will go on the road to play Mississippi State. Which version of these teams are we going to get? Will it be the A&M team we saw against Miami and Arkansas, or will it be the A&M team we saw against App State? Mississippi State is in similar shoes, as will it be the team we saw against Arizona, or the team we saw against LSU? We all know Will Rogers can throw the ball. Will their defense be good enough, and will they make enough big plays to win this game? Right now, I would say no. I was really high on Mississippi State a couple weeks ago, but I think Texas A&M is playing good football right now, and they're to go on the road to Starkville and win. We now have a very interesting battle out in the Pac-12, as California will go to Washington State. Many believe that Justin Wilcox was on the hot seat going into the season, but after a great start to the season and playing Notre Dame really well on the road, California has a pretty good offense led by transfer quarterback Jack Plummer. Washington State was also an early season surprise as they went into Camp Randall and beat Wisconsin and have a new star quarterback in Cam Ward. This game I think is going to be one of the better games of the day as they seem very evenly matched. I'm a big Cam Ward guy right now, so I'm going to give Washington State the slight nod in this game, and this will keep the Cougars' Pac-12 hopes alive. Going back to the SEC, LSU is going to go on the road to Auburn. Many thought that Auburn was the most dysfunctional team in the SEC until Missouri decided to one-up them. After having one of the worst few-play stretches in college football history, Mizzou gave away a game to Auburn in overtime, and honestly it did not seem Auburn fans even wanted it. Despite that extra win, Auburn isn't any good. LSU did lose early on to Florida State, but they had a great win over Mississippi State, and I think Jaden Daniels will continue playing better, and LSU will go into Jordan Hare and win easily. Speaking of Missouri, they get a much easier task this weekend compared to Auburn, as number 1 Georgia comes to town. For the most part, Georgia has been the most dominating team in college football, and this game is going to get ugly. Mizzou doesn't have an offensive line, doesn't have a quarterback, and can't seem to do anything right now, so while I think they're going to get blown out at home, I don't think many will be there to watch. Georgia wins big. We have 5 more interesting games to talk about, but if you're enjoying today's video, be sure to leave a like and give me your thoughts on what I've gotten right and wrong so far. Going back over to the Big 12, we have an interesting game as West Virginia goes on the road to Texas. Led by transfer quarterback JT Daniels, the Mountaineers have slowly started to find their stride after a loss to Kansas. Texas, on the other hand, is difficult to read. They almost beat Alabama in week 2, but just lost to Texas Tech last weekend. If Quinn Ewers plays, Texas wins this game pretty easily, but if he doesn't, I think it'll be close. I still ultimately think that the Longhorns are going to win this one, but it will be by 1 possession. Give this win to Texas. A couple years ago, Scott Frost begged the Big Ten to play the schools from Indiana more, and he got his wish. Both Purdue and Indiana beat them in the same season, but now Frost isn't here for the return game. Indiana's had a surprising 3-1 start, and they will go on the road to Nebraska, who was supposed to have their big breakout season. Right now, the Cornhuskers are extremely dysfunctional, and I don't trust them to even beat Indiana right now. Might be a little bit controversial, but I say Indiana wins this game. The Power 5 Virginia schools have struggled this year. Virginia Tech's been a disaster, and the Virginia Cavaliers haven't been much better. Led by first-year head coach Tony Elliott, the Cavaliers have struggled to get going and almost lost to Old Dominion. Led by quarterback Brennan Armstrong and star receivers Keaton Thompson and Dontavian Wicks, this was supposed to be the best Virginia team in years, but they've been nothing but disappointing. Their opponent this weekend is Duke, and after they were picked to finish near the bottom of the ACC, Duke has been a surprise. Their best win came against Northwestern, who looks awful right now, but the Blue Devils are 3-1 after just recently losing on the road by 1 possession to Kansas. Riley Leonard has been a pleasant surprise at quarterback, and Mike Elko is ahead of schedule at Duke. That's why I think he's going to get his first big win at home, as the Blue Devils are going to beat the Cavaliers. What has gone wrong with Stanford? They used to be a consistent top 25 team and a Pac-12 title contender, but under David Shaw, they've really fallen off over the last few years. Quarterback Tanner McKee was supposed to take them back to the promised land, but the supposed future NFL draft pick has struggled this year, whereas Oregon has gotten really good lately. After getting beaten down in Week 1 by Georgia, Bo Nix and Oregon have bounced back in a big way, with wins over BYU and most recently Washington State. The Ducks have a lot of momentum right now, and with this game being at home, I think they cruise. The one game that is going to be must-watch TV is number 22 Wake Forest at number 23 Florida State. Led by Sam Hartman, the Demon Deacons were a breakout team in 2021, and they have continued that hype into 2022. They barely lost in overtime last week to Clemson, and they still have a lot of momentum going into this game against Florida State. After a huge Week 1 victory over LSU, Florida State has now beaten both Boston College and Louisville to cruise out to an undefeated start. Jordan Travis is experienced, and right now there's a winning culture at Florida State. While I think this game is going to be a shootout and be a lot of fun, I think Florida State gets a big win at home and energizes this fan base even more. Finally, we get to one of the most anticipated games of the week, and that is number 10 NC State at number 5 Clemson. On paper, this looks like a really good matchup, but in my prediction, it's going to be a blowout. While I absolutely love the NC State hype, they have not proven to me that they're deserving of being a top 10 team. Devin Leary's been pretty underwhelming, and they should have lost to East Carolina in Week 1. DJ Uyunglele was not impressing in the first few weeks for Clemson, but last week against Wake Forest, he had his coming out party, and they beat a really good ranked team on the road. Clemson right now has a ton of momentum, this is a huge night game, and they're at home, and I think Clemson wins by at least 2 touchdowns. So yeah, in today's video we went through Week 5, and there are obviously more games that I forgot about, but I did not think they were going to be competitive, and didn't feel the need to include it in this list. These are just all the best games, and this slate is absolutely insane. There's going to be a lot of good games, and be sure to let me know your thoughts down below. What did I get right, and what did I get wrong? Or to go ahead and check how I did next week, and I hope you guys enjoy this weekend of college football. Before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.